Hello and welcome to this Legal Lab webinar. My name is Michael. I also have with me my colleagues Olga and Allison, and today we're going to explore modern anatomic pathology LIS solutions with Allison Still. For folks that aren't familiar with Legal Lab and our team, I'll kick things off by first allowing my colleagues to introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about them. Starting with Allison. Allison, feel free to kick it off.
Allison Still. I'm the product manager of the LIS here at Legal Lab. I've been with the company for a few years, and before that, I used to work at a laboratory that used the Legal Lab LIS. So I got a lot of experience with the software there. And yeah, excited to show it to everyone today.
Awesome. Thank you very much for attending and bringing that energy. I really appreciate it. We also have Olga. Olga, please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Olga. I'm the head of sales and marketing at Legal Lab. I've been with the company for more than 2 years already. And I'm here to help you navigate our process of choosing the system, buying the system, and just supervise you on every step of the way if you decide to go forward with Legal Lab.
All right. So to set the table a little bit, here's what we plan to get through as part of today's webinar. Olga will kick things off. We'll then toss it on over to Allison for the actual LIS software demonstration. And as you can see on your screen, these are some of the topics that we are going to cover today. End-to-end AP workflow, block and slide tracking, and automated histology protocols. Likely will take about a half hour to get through the presentation and the demonstration. If you have questions, please utilize the options at the bottom of your screen to ask the questions of our group. We will have a Q&A session after Allison finishes her demonstration. So with that, Olga, I will let you take over and proceed.
Let me know if you can see my screen. Yep. Okay, so yeah, welcome to Legal Lab and our future-proof solutions. So just to start off, a little bit of history. The company has been founded more than 18 years ago, and the guys who started it, they have been working in the lab themselves, so they know all the issues of the lab industry inside out. All the staffing shortages and dwelling reimbursements and shifting regulations. That's something they faced issues with being in the lab. But when the lab got sold, they were able to bring it all to build Legal Lab. And we're still addressing all of these issues. They haven't disappeared in 18 years. They're still there. And the solutions we're building right now are getting even more in-depth and profound to fight those issues. The typical lab environment we see when we go to the labs now is like that. So a lot of labs still have a lot of manual work processes and a lot of gaps in between departments and inside each of the department inside the lab. A lot of spreadsheets, Excel spreadsheets or document files, and that's something that's in modern system definitely can beat. Another problem of a lot of labs is that they cannot scale and grow, or they start small and they scale and grow, but then they outgrow their own system. They need something more profound. That's when we see a lot of labs coming to us looking for a very profound, advanced system. So Legal Lab offers the solution that is suitable for both smaller labs and bigger labs, but eventually, at the end of the day, we are definitely the best fit for mid-size and large-size labs with, I'd say, 5+ pathologists usually. One more thing to mention is like we working with our labs, with our clients on a partnership basis, and all of our pricing is very transparent. We try not to nickel and dime on tiny little changes. Not try, we don't actually do it. And the system is very configurable, and lots of things can be done by the labs themselves when they already have the system, and we don't charge for that. That's our favorite monster. We see a lot of labs are building, using different types of software, and ending up having 5 or 7 systems in one place. And that's what we don't want to happen. We don't want the labs to create this monster, one solution doing one thing, another solution doing another thing. So we are offering a solution that can cover all of those functionalities in one streamlined operation through LegalLab. And one thing to mention here would be not to forget about the RCM. So I think that's one of our greatest benefits, that we have LIS and RCM in one box together, that allows the labs to build a really transparent operations and have their reimbursements increased through having this transparency. That's what the system looks like in a nutshell. We have a very profound anatomic pathology module, and the system has been built for anatomic pathology in the first place. Mid-size and large-size anatomic pathology labs would be our ideal clients, ideal ICP for us. But as company grew, there was another module added for the clinical lab. So most of the testing done by clinical labs is present right now in our workflows. And what we see in some of our clients is that, let's say they were doing one type of testing only, but then they started with LegalLab, they were able to expand their panels, they add more types of testing and grow and scale their lab only through having an opportunity to do so through LegalLab. And I think one of our next webinars is dedicated exactly to this topic, so we can dive deeper into this. But that's a great benefit that we see happening as we speak. We do have a lot of supporting engines and very profound knowledge around integrations with any types of EMRs, EHRs, and instruments. So that's what allows us to build a seamless process and have everything connected and automated, and allowing to get rid of most of that paperwork that still is present in the labs. Supporting modules on this side, you can see that we do have a lot of good stuff like managing the outreach process, document management. We have specimen tracking and send-out tracking. By the way, send-out tracking is one of the functions that many other vendors don't have, and that comes in very handy for many, many labs. We have integration with digital pathology, and we have a direct-to-consumer portal in the advanced tier. And as I mentioned, we do have a very profound RCM module that if we talk sales, we sell it separately. So you can either come and start with LIS or you can start with RCM. But most of the labs that come to us, they would usually start with LIS, and then later on, when everything is fine, they would implement RCM as well. Yeah, so with our solution, you get a really transparent system, as I already mentioned, that will reduce the complexity in the lab and standardize all the operations and simplify those operations. We also help you optimize the compliance and reduce the risks. One of the things probably also to remember that really gains you the competitive advantage on the market, and that's what allows you to scale at the end of the day as well. And you'll be able to retain and win new customers much faster. And as you scale, you don't have to change the system. So you will have LegalLab, and then when you scale and grow, you will keep using LegalLab, just add in additional modules and additional functionality. probably I'll do this slide first. We do have 4 tiers inside the system that are fit for different sizes of the lab. So we do have essential, professional, advanced, and enterprise. Each of them has its own list of functionality and modules included, but you can think of the system as a puzzle. So let's say you want to go with a professional, which would be an ideal fit for mid-size lab of about up to, I would say, 7 pathologists. But you need some other functions that you see in the advanced, so you can do that. You can go with a professional tier, but you, for example, need a send-out tracking as well. So we can just add this functionality to professional, and then we'll discuss your needs and see what the best pricing for you would be. As a conclusion here, just to get you an idea of what our process on the sales side looks like, we do usually do the discovery to understand your needs and see what you want to have on your side. And then we would have the first demo if you like everything, and additional demos. Sometimes we would go on site if that's needed to analyze your workflows, if you have a lot of complex stuff, if you're a really big lab, and our participation in analyzing those things would be needed. And then we can address those issues in our demonstrations, because the system is really very, very profound. For bigger labs, usually one demo is definitely not enough. So that process of demoing might take 30 days or sometimes even longer, depending on the speed you want to move forward with. After that, we would have the proposal discussion and pricing negotiation. And once you make your decision, we'll go into the contracting phase, all the legal stuff back and forth, and then we go to the implementation. Implementation would take anywhere from 3 to 9 months, again, depending on the size of your lab and the number of integrations that you have. And that's, I'm talking about LIS right now. So a very important thing is that how quickly you can react and help us implement the system on the side of the lab. I'd say like last year, we had a really great progress on our implementation process, and I know we are developing new tech on that side as well, and that's going to be even faster moving forward. And then we'll go live, and everybody is happy, and then we see a lot of good stuff, and then we create case studies with Michael and share them with everybody else. Any questions? Send them in the chat and Q&A, and I'll pass it to Allison to demonstrate the system.
All right. I'll go ahead and share my screen. No, this one. All right. Can you see my screen now? Great. Okay. Here, this is our demo environment. And here I am open to the home screen, which will be the default screen for most users. And here, each user can customize their view with the screen links that are most interesting to them or most relevant for their job description. And it'll show a count of what is pending in that queue if it is applicable. So let's go ahead and start with accessioning a new order. So we'll go to the ordering module and click on new order. My cursor is right in client to start entering that information. So enter the client ID and then select the provider. Here the cursor is just, proceeding to the next available field as the field is filled in, and I can tab through just collected date and time, received date and time. Then it's going to jump down to the patient information. Patient ID in our system here can kind of be thought of as like the MRN, or this patient's this client's identifier for this patient rather. I'll enter some digits there, and then here it recognized the patient based on that patient ID that I entered. So here's showing me this patient profile. that potentially matches the patient ID that I entered. And so I can review and decide if this is the same patient. If I decided it's the same patient, I'll click select. Otherwise, we can go back and continue making a new patient. Let's say this is the patient. So I'll go ahead and select them. And we can see their profile was applied to the order. All of their address, guardian information, billing information. Yeah, here, entering the billing information in general is optional. As Olga mentioned, we have our own RCM. If you do utilize that, then this will flow through seamlessly to that. But also, if you like to prefer to keep your current RCM, that's fine. And we customarily do an export of this information for those clients. We can, either way, do real-time eligibility checking, as well as insurance discovery. I use the keyboard shortcut F5 to go on to the next tab, where the first field is ICDs, and I'll enter an ICD, and then I can tab down to enter our test. The quick add will be the comprehensive list of all the tests and panels that this laboratory offers, including any send-out tests you would like to configure. Here, I can type in the test I'm looking for and press enter to have it added. A few things were added with this test when it was selected, namely a specimen tree down here. Any ask at order entry questions you want to configure to go along with this test will appear here under the supplemental data section. So with the specimen tree that was added, first line is the name of our test, and then some default elements were added in. And you have a lot of you have full control over how you would like to configure the default specimen arrangement that comes in here at the order. In this configuration, I'm just going to enter the bottle and the site that was entered, and then at grossing, we will apply our histology protocols. So let's say our site, let's do a GI today. So let's say we have a stomach biopsy. So they can just type here in the site description, the free text description of the specimen as sent by the client. Entering the specimen information is the last step of our core order entry workflow here. So when that is complete, we can go on and save our order. Use F1 shortcut if we like. First label we get, or first window we get is for label print. We'll get labels for our specimens as well as paperwork if we would like to utilize those. And then here I have it coming up with the lab order attachments window where the paperwork for this case can be scanned immediately after this case is accessioned. We do recommend this scanning workflow for anatomic pathology clients, as the next step when this goes to the lab will be grossing. And we have an interface that we built for the grossers that includes visibility on this attachment. But you can also do batch scanning if you prefer, which can happen downstream at any time. I will just go ahead and add a PDF I have saved on my computer so we can kind of get an idea of what this looks like. And then that scan is the last step of our order entry. Now I'm gonna look up the specimen ID for our test case really quickly so we can simulate scanning it in our work queues. So after accessioning, the order entry team will take the bottles to the grossing lab, and the grossing techs will pick up their workflow in the grossing queue. The grossing queue is a real-time list of all of the cases that need to be grossed. After grossing is complete, they will leave this queue and we will move on to subsequent work queues. For grossing here, they can browse the queue and double click on a case they're interested in. You can scan the bottle up here, and either of these actions will open the detail view of the result, which we'll see for pathologist resulting. And grossing can happen from that screen. Though, as I mentioned, we've built a kind of specialized screen, which we call the grossing touch screen. And here, the screen, has all the same functions as the grossing area in the result detail screen, but this screen is optimized for a touchscreen monitor. So everything here is a bit bigger for workstations that might not have a mouse, and they'll just be, clicking on the screen to drive this workflow. So here, when I scan this bottle for this case, some patient identifiers populated here on the top, and we see our specimen description as typed at accessioning, and the grosser will go to this site field and select the matching site to what was written here. These are options would be pre-configured, be unique to each laboratory, right? And here the system is reading what I typed here and suggesting some options for me to choose, which are highlighted in green. If we scroll down, we'll see there's actually many more things configured in this environment, right? But it suggesting ones that it thinks matches for us. And indeed, let's pick this first one for stomach. And you can see that defaulted in some quite a few other elements. Stomach area, operation of biopsy, if that's your default, right? We're going to assume any like gastric specimen, let's say in this scenario, the default operation is biopsy, which also had a default grossing description template, which is populated here. And we can see on the bottom left some other defaulted items, a GI biopsy small protocol, and an added CPT of 88305. Again, we have our scan over here on the right. If you would like to view that as your grossing. And those can also open as an embedded tab, similar to the patient history here, if that's a more desirable, maybe if you don't have a large monitor, for example. So here, as soon as this description template was applied, the system highlighted this placeholder value for us, so we can fill that in, either using the on-screen keyboard here that I'm using, or if they do happen to have a more conventional keyboard, they can of course use that as well. Here I do have the inner consultation enabled, so we see an extra section for that they could fill in at this time. Also a pathologist selection. This isn't necessarily the most conventional time to select a pathologist, but we have it here for those laboratories that do have that workflow. Maybe this is an interesting case that I know a specific pathologist is going to want to read. We can go back over to the specimens tab and see the GI biopsy small protocol that was applied, which appears to just be one cassette and one slide. We can add additionals as we like here, additional cassettes or specimens off the bottle, as well as additional, say we want to order an unstained slide. We can tell the system how many pieces are going into this cassette block, which can be nice for some downstream QC. And any additional stains besides routine and unstained that you would like to order, you can open the stain table and see the comprehensive list of all the stains that are configured in this environment. The user can have their favorites, and of course, stain panels, which is a collection of multiple slides to apply. We can go to images. If the grosser has a camera and they would like to add any images for the pathologist to review, we can go to patient history, and then I didn't have any data panels configured here. So when we're done grossing, we'll click print and save, and this will print our blocks. I don't have a cassette printer, so I'll just save, and it tells me I haven't printed those cassettes. That's okay. So after our grossing touchscreen, then we can go on to block queue, where we will track all the processing and embedding of our box. So for this process, we will open the begin process screen here at the bottom and open, it's kind of like an informal batch screen where all the blocks that are being loaded into the processor can be scanned. Here I did just select one from the queue as I don't have a scanner with me here today. But here we see information about that block that was added to this begin processing window. And you can customize the information seen here you want to see more or less information about this case. So you can scan in as many blocks as are going into this batch. Likely you wouldn't just do one, but so you can scan as many as you want into here. And let's say, we're going to load these into a specific processor, which we'll select here. So when we're ready, we'll say begin. These are going to begin processing. Now when our blocks are ready to come out of the processor, we can filter. You can filter by the specific processor as well. And again, you can scan or select from the queue. Either way, or we'll scan them into here to add blocks that we are bringing out of the processor. Tracking the processing steps like this will facilitate the system being able to calculate a block processing turnaround time report, which is an out-of-box statistical report that we have. And after processing, the user who is embedding these blocks will also process them from this queue. So again, they can open the embed screen and then scan each block into here as they are embedded. Here we can see, the template changed a little bit as our information was updated with the names of the histotext that processed it. We can always edit this individual cassette to make a comment or see audit information about the specimen. So here I'll tell the system that we embedded this block, and then the block will officially come off of this queue. Next, the histotext will pick up the case from the slide queue, which is a real-time list of all of the slides that were pending. Here, let me take a short moment to explain some of the coloring we see in these queues. A color in the accession column traditionally refers to the priority of this case. So I know in this specific environment that red means this case is stat. And I don't know if there's any in here. We also have expedite is purple, but you can configure those priorities however you'd like, specific to your lab. And then similarly in the result ID column here, a color is a turnaround time indicator. So again, you can configure for your laboratory on a test by test basis how you would like this turnaround time coloring to go into effect. You will configure as many buckets as you would like for time periods in which different colors should apply. So for example, maybe when this case is 8 hours old, it'll turn yellow, then 24 orange, 48 red, something like that. And again, that's per test. So maybe, if you have tests that should be done sooner, then they can have a different turnaround time template than others. And both of these colors, these are just visual indicators to the users that monitor these queues, either that this case is high priority or maybe that this case is aging. Here we're also seeing, if you can tell, these slides are like a lighter gray font than like the ones above it, right? It's like normal black. This is gray. And that's because I have turned on a setting requiring the block queue steps that we performed. And this gray is telling us that these slides, that the block that these slides belong to is not embedded yet. So picking up with our regular workflow, the histotexts are going to open the assign window. And here, if you scan a block, and all the slides that need to be cut from that block will populate in the window. Normally, I would recommend having the print slide labels checked, and the slide labels will also print along with that. Again, just because I don't have a scanner, I'll go ahead and select them from down here. Let's select a few. And we'll see how they populate into the window. I don't want it to try to print slide labels since I don't have a slide printer, but these will be assigned to me. Now the system will know that I am the histotech responsible for cutting these slides. Similarly, when these slides are complete, we will want to come back and tell the system that the slides are complete. At this point, you would normally scan the individual slides into this complete window. This is another opportunity to assign the pathologist here by making a selection here from this drop-down. Additionally, if your pathologists like to have a physical copy, a working draft in front of them while they're reviewing this case, this is an opportunity to print such a worksheet. So here I'm telling the system these slides are complete. And that's kind of the end of our laboratory workflows in the LIS. We do have a case distribution queue. This is kind of the more conventional place for pathologist assignment. And then once the case has been assigned, the case doesn't have to be assigned, right? That is just if you would like to do that as part of your workflow, or if not, that is fine too. When the pathologist picks up the case, they will open the pathologist queue. Often, if the user who's logged in is primarily pathologist, we will configure their system so it opens directly to the pathologist queue, right, instead of the home screen that I showed. And here, if you are doing assignment, we can automatically filter to what's assigned to that pathologist. And they, again, can browse through here, double click on a case that they're interested in. If they are brought physical slides, they can scan one of those slides and it'll open the result detail of that case for us. So this is the same result detail screen, right, that I mentioned from grossing. Grossing could have been performed from here as well. But this is the main screen the pathologist will do their workflow from. You can see when I open the screen, the cursor is right in the final diagnosis field, ready to dictate my diagnosis, type it. I can enter a macro here in the text field, or I can select a macro from this pick list over here. Just for anatomy of this window, up here in the first line, we see case identifiers. The grossing user, I'm now assigned the primary pathologist because I picked up this case. Here, aside our result detail window, the report preview window opened, and we'll observe as we make adjustments that it will update in real time. In addition to the report previewer, some other windows could have opened by default for us, including the patient history. Again, this case didn't have any, but also the attachments. The pathologist would like to look at the requisition. Maybe this will open, and they can set it to always open on their other monitor, possibly. So I'm going to go ahead and select a final diagnosis macro from the pick list over here. Again, this is the abbreviation that you could type directly into the text field or dictate. I just don't have any macros memorized for GI. So here I picked this stomach atrophic template and a final diagnosis template populated for us, as well as a microscopic description and a comment. And again, we see those reflected in our report preview. Here we have an alert telling us that we need photography. This is an example of a tag that you might configure if this client always wants to have microphotographs on the reports, for example. So if you are a pathologist that has a microscopic camera that is plugged into this workstation, you go ahead and click this button or use the keyboard shortcut Alt-Q to initiate interacting with that camera. And it will where you can take an image like normal, and then it'll be brought into the LIS. Here, I'll just select an image that I have saved on my computer so we can kind of see what that'll look like. You have some annotation tools available to you. Like drag these over, if you want to highlight an area of interest, for example. And some other, you can give it like a caption, all sorts of stuff. So here you'll see a thumbnail of the image here, and it'll refresh in a second and show our image. On the Specimens tab, we can see a tree of all the specimens that were cut for this case. If the pathologist would like to order some additionals, they can order the stain table, similar to what we saw at grossing, and add those on either by double clicking or dragging and dropping. Again, the pathologist can have their own favorites and access the stain panels as they would like. I don't want to add this on for our test case today. Great. Here are preview refresh to show the image that was added. Again, any images that were also taken as grossing would also accumulate here. And if you have a bunch of images, you can hide the ones that you don't want to show. We see here a PIP on billing, so we can go here and see the 88305 that was added at grossing. Here we can see it was linked because of the biopsy operation I chose. And those can be adjusted as needed. Additionally, ICD codes could be linked to your final diagnosis macro. I didn't add any for these or for this one, so let's go ahead and add one so you can kind of see what that looks like. Other things you can do here include consultations, ideal for internal consultations. Maybe I'm a pathologist and I want to see what my colleague at the hospital has to say about this case. We can add a consult and ask that, and it'll appear in their queue. Similar with correlations, if you are maybe a gyne lab and you get a lot of like gyne biopsies with PAPS, correlations will be workable from this queue. And if you have any sendouts that you'd like to order from this case. But let's say we are ready to sign out this case. We could release preliminary here with F9, or we can release with F7. And now our case is completed. Pathologist queue refreshed, and it is no longer there. The report is queued up for release here in the pending release reports queue. Here's our test case again. Here, the report will be held for a holding period of time, which you have full control over. For a lot of the AP labs, we see it, common holding time would be like 30 to 60 minutes. With this holding period, basically, if I sign out a case, I immediately remember something I forgot, because it's in this holding period, I can return the result to processing, make any adjustments I need, and then sign it out. And there's no revision needed because it wasn't officially released. It was still in this holding period. Also, you can configure that holding time to 0 if that's a feature that is not interesting to you. And once the report is officially released from the LIS, then it will be distributed to the client or the provider, however you have configured. You can print a physical copy, fax, maybe you'll email them a link to view the report in our portal, of course, EDI. And then that will be the end of the life cycle for our case.
Very thorough. I think the last element that you showed, I think, is referred to as the whoops queue, which I think is
yes, some do
it's a pretty good name, not official name, but a name all the same. So thank you very much, Allison. Now your opportunity, the audience's opportunity to utilize the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen and ask a question of either Allison or Olga. One thing that comes to mind when I'm watching this, Allison, is there's a lot of functionality. There's a lot of different ways you can take a workflow to really customize it for your lab. How does that differentiate with other systems you have maybe used in the past in a professional environment?
Yeah, it's definitely a differentiator for sure. The system is highly configurable, almost every aspect of it. You can create custom fields, obviously rules, automations, custom work queues, make fields required as you would like or not required as you like. So yeah, it's definitely a differentiator for us.
I think maybe along those lines for Olga, we often hear, I'm sure you hear on the sales side, you know what, we've had our system for a bit. The laboratory information system vendor really doesn't like to hear from us anymore. They basically want to give us that software and just let it be there and that's it. From a implementation to a support point of view, how does Legal Lab approach its relationship with its clients?
So, as I said, we really nurture our relationship with our clients, and Legal Lab is really famous for its superb service as well. And from the very beginning, the model that we offer, even on the sales side, is called partnership model, and it's called this particular word because of the reason that we really want to nurture this relationship and establish a partnership between our companies. And we want you to use our system that will help you scale and grow, and not only the system, but our resources as a team as well. So as we have a lot of knowledge from similar labs, bigger labs, and we have, we use the data that we get from those labs to improve and enhance our system on a daily basis. You as a new partner, as a new lab, you also benefit from that. And our service team is always there to handle any questions and to handle any issues that you might have. And that's very speedy reaction usually. And we have really high scores on the service side as well. So if that answers the question, Michael?
I believe it does. Here's a question, probably for Allison. Digital pathology, it's certainly something that is a growing element in anatomic pathology. Allison, how does Legal Lab integrate with the various digital pathology solutions out there?
Yeah. I mean, in part, it depends on the specific digital pathology. Some of them are doing more traditional interfaces. Some of them are doing APIs. So it's probably going to be one of those two methods. But for us internally, it is treated like a pretty standard interface. We have dedicated engineers for developing that. They work with resources at the laboratory as well as the vendor to develop that for them.
And one last one here. It was mentioned early on in the presentation, the RCM, Lab Revenue Cycle Management part of the system. For either one of you, how does that work? How is LIS and RCM combined into one united workflow?
Allison, you want to?
Sure. So they're actually in the same system, the same application. So there's no interface needed or anything. All the data, is shared. They have the same database. They just have their own unique work queues, own implementation team, support team that would help you if you were to implement that. But yeah, so it's a very seamless operation.
I think the key, I know I've worked with our RCM team on a regular basis. I think the key simply is it's one unified workflow, and the billing aspect of the laboratory business starts right as the case comes in to the lab. We certainly have had RCM specific webinars in the past. We plan on doing a little bit more of that in the very near future. We've reached the end of this webinar presentation. So a quick thank you to all those that attended and the questions that were submitted. If you have an individual question that you would like to ask Allison offline, we've got her email address, and that's linked to a QR code on this screen. If you have any questions as far as sales, implementation, which tier would be good for my laboratory operation, you can also reach Olga directly with the information that is on this screen. And then we are also very happy to announce that we are going to be part of the Executive War College's special 30th annual conference coming up in New Orleans at the end of April. Here's your chance to really network and learn what's going on in the lab business, what the trends are, and how your business can run better. We're going to be there. We're going to have our biggest team that we've ever had. Olga, myself, hopefully Allison as well. So if you'd like to schedule a one-on-one meeting with Allison and her team, here's your opportunity. As we get closer to that event, we'll certainly be talking much, much more about it and about Legal Lab's specific involvement in that event, something that we really look forward to every year. With that, I guess I will allow final words for either one of you. Allison, Olga, anything that you'd like to say or bring up as we wrap things?
Yeah. Thanks everyone for joining.
Yep, thank you. And let us know any of the questions you have, and feel free to contact us at any time.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. Also, one last thing, if you have a webinar idea in mind, something that you'd like us to showcase, trends within the industry or what our laboratory information system can specifically do, we're all ears. So we look forward to that. Thank you once again for attending. We'll do this again. Oh, one other reminder, I'll throw it out there. We'll start really publicizing this pretty big, but our next webinar will be February 4th. We're going to showcase one of our laboratory partners, Goldfinch, a derm laboratory, a small derm laboratory as things started out. But with the system now, they've really diversified it, added many more other pathology workflows to their growing business. So we'll showcase them on February 4th. Look for more information on that one as we get closer to the date. Thank you, ladies. Thanks for everybody attending. And for now, that's goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.